Yo, what is up guys, it's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be reacting to Mel Kiper's latest mock draft where he has the Washington Commanders selecting cornerback Emmanuel Forbes at 16. So if you guys are new, subscribe for Washington and NFL content. Also guys, mic is still not working, so it's going to be a little bit choppy for the next few days, but we'll get it fixed soon. So this mock draft by Mel was a couple weeks ago, but still wanted to talk about it and react to it because it is a little bit of a unique pick for the Washington Commanders. So he projected Emmanuel Forbes, cornerback out of Mississippi State, to the Washington Commanders at 16, which is a little bit surprising. Like, I really like Emmanuel Forbes. I just think that 16 is very, very early for him. I think the earliest I would take him is a trade back in like maybe 25, and even then, you could argue that's early, so I think taking him at 16 wouldn't be a great pick, but let's get into that and talk about the player, Emmanuel Forbes, and maybe the possibility of trading back for him or getting him in the second round. Kiper also said that the cornerback position is the deepest position in the draft, as he thinks there are 35 to 40 corners in this draft who will play in the league. So if you want one, you can find good ones after the first round. So again, that was he had Emmanuel Forbes going to the Commanders. I don't have ESPN Plus, so I can't read what he said about it, and I couldn't find anything on Twitter. But, cornerback to the Commanders at 16 does make sense. And, if Gonzalez is there or Witherspoon, I think they would run that pick in. Maybe Joey Porter. Again, I think the scheme fit might be a little bit off there. And there's a couple other guys as well that might make some sense. Let's see right here. I'm trying to pull up okay, let's get into Emmanuel Forbes a little bit. So the biggest knock on him is his weight. I mean, he weighed in at 166 pounds at the NFL Combine, which is the lightest since 2000. He gained a few pounds at his pro day at 170, which, it's not a lot, but, if he continues to gain a few pounds every couple months, that is a good thing for him, as long as he doesn't lose too much of his speed, because 166 is very, very, very light. One NFL GM told ESPN's Matt Miller that Forbes could be the top cornerback in the draft if he weighed 190 pounds. So he's obviously not going to get there, but, if he can continue gaining a little bit of weight, that'll definitely help him. So let's get into some of his stats. Yeah, we'll get into stats and then talk about the players. So he has ball production, and that is what you want. So in 2020, had 44 tackles. Let's see, 5 interceptions and 3 total touchdowns. So 3 pick sixes. And then in 2021, a little bit, less ball production. 5 pass breakups, 1 sack, a forced fumble, and 3 interceptions, no tutties. And then in 2022, 46 tackles, 11 pass breakups, which is double what his second best season was, and then had 6 interceptions and 3 pick six for a total of 174 yards. He went off. He went off. Most pick sixes in college or FBS history, with 6 in 3 years, mind you, 3 years, and had 14 interceptions in 3 seasons. So basically averaged 5 interceptions a season, and that includes his freshman season and his sophomore season, when usually those guys don't play as much. And on the ESPN, they have him listed at 6 foot 180, but we know that's a little bit, misleading. So let's get into the actual measurements, what he ran at the Combine, and other stuff as well. So 6'1", which is a little bit taller than what they have on his site, and then 166 pounds, but 4 pounds heavier at the pro day, which is pretty good. His Combine numbers were great. A 4.35 40-yard dash, which I think is like the same as Deonte Banks, who was one of the top guys as well. Vertical jump isn't amazing, but it's solid, 37.5. I think Christian Gonzalez is at 41, and what's his name? Deonte Banks is at 42, but some of the other guys are a little bit lower. But his Combine stats were pretty good. The broad jump's solid. Not sure about the 10-yard split. I really don't know what other guys are in terms of that comparison. His athleticism score, 5th in this class, and they have him as a second guy at the Combine. So some pretty good numbers. His NFL comparison is Cam Dantzler. Talked about this yesterday. In a more broad video, I talked about 5 corners I think could, that the Commanders could target in the draft. So after this, go ahead and watch that. Also, hit that like button and the notification bell on this video. It does help out the channel a ton. So, overview. Let's see. Yeah, this is by Lance Zerline. He says, Forbes is long, can run, and has a talent for taking the ball away, which means he has a chance to become a coveted cornerback. However, his wire-thin frame does not work in his favor. His instincts and recognition are fun to watch. He pounces on quick game throws and has the ball skills to take the ball away. He's highly capable in all forms of zone coverage and operates at a press man, but is inconsistent in matching the release and staying in phase with routes through sharp cuts. His slender build and lack of tackle strength will make him a target for opposing running games. Forbes could become an early starter with quality ball production, but teams might need to expect some up and down performances, which does make sense. And yeah, he is very small, and he's really the only corner I've watched some film on because I wanted to, learn more about him. And I kind of saw that, he would get beat off the line a lot just because of his small frame. And even sometimes it wasn't because of his small frame. He just got beat. And yeah, that's a little bit concerning. And in the run game, he wasn't as bad as I thought he would be for a guy that is way lighter than most of these other receivers and definitely lighter than all these other corners. So, he surprised me a little bit, and that ball production does translate. He's going to be able to get interceptions in the NFL. He has that recognition. He's going to be in the right spot, and he has the hands. So it's not like all those picks that he had were like tips and lucky picks. Some of them were, but that's going to happen with all these players. He had some really good interceptions as well that, were tough catches. He did, especially a couple in the back of the end zone. I can't remember which game it was, but he had a couple nice plays there. So, yeah, he's got the ball production, which is one of the top things you look at in a corner. And he's got the height at 6'1". He just doesn't have that weight. And it's probably never going to be there in terms of being an average corner in terms of weight. But if he can get to slightly below average or maybe at some point in his career get to 180, I think that would be good for him. And you guys can see some of the strengths and weaknesses. I'm not going to read it too much here, but you guys can see, a lot of it has to do with the size, and then with the strengths, his, great production in terms of 14 interceptions and 6 touchdowns. And yeah, those are his strengths and weaknesses. And let's see, anything else with him? So yeah, let's talk about the possibility of the Commanders drafting him. 16, I really don't see it. I think that's too early for him. The size is going to make teams definitely uncomfortable about drafting him in the first half of the first round, and we have that 16th overall pick. But maybe in the later round, and I think something that could, help him with it, in terms of he's got less size, and it might be better for him to go against slot guys early on in his career, and the Commanders have an open slot position at the cornerback position, so he could be our starting slot corner for us, and I would be fine with that if we pick him past 25. Before that, I really think it's a reach, or at least past 20. You got to, trade back a few spots, like 5+ spots, and get him. And I still think it might be a little bit of a reach if we draft him at like 21, 22. But I would be okay with it because, we got some assets in return. So that's sometimes what you get for doing that. But if we draft him at like 28, 29, and get like a second round pick in return from the trade back and are able to get, good offensive lineman or a tight end or a linebacker, then I'm all for it. I'm all for it because he's got the ball production. He's got speed, 4.35, 40-yard dash, and he's got the height too. He has the height. It's just the weight, and there's obviously a couple other issues that all other corners have that, he has as well. But for the most part, I think he's a good prospect. And if we trade back, would not mind it at all. So that's it for today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and peace.